Good morning. My name is Ed Slattery. I stand before you as a single parent. Not a job I signed up for. I came here today with Matthew, who is now 14 years old. He was 12 at the time of the crash. We don't call it an accident in our house because it wasn't an accident. It wasn't quite on purpose, but it was foreseeable. And it shouldn't have happened. In the last 16 months, we have been trying to raise awareness about this very, very important public health issue. Jackie put it very nicely when she more or less said that the airline industry would never get away with killing 3,000 people a year. We grounded a whole fleet because a fuselage blew open and nobody was even hurt. And that was the right thing to do. Absolutely the right thing to do. I'm very concerned about the political tone in the United States. This is not a partisan issue. Republicans, Democrats, libertarians, communists, Catholics, agnostics, atheists, Jews, Muslims, all drive on our roads. This is an issue that affects all of us. I want to talk about the real cost of truck crashes. And this isn't just me. We are one family of 3,000. Multiply me by 3,000. And think about every year. Every single year. It was a beautiful day. My wife and 2 boys were returning from an annual family reunion just outside of Cleveland where she was raised. I was home. I was actually at work in Washington, D.C. I used to work for the Department of Agriculture. I have been sort of forcibly resigned because I have to take care of my children. Susan and our 2 boys, Peter and Matthew, were coming home. They were on the Ohio Turnpike at about the 190-mile marker when they were slowing down for a construction zone. They were going about 8 miles an hour, and a trucker rear-ended her at about 55 miles an hour, and he was pulling a triple-tractor trailer. He never saw any of the warning signs. The construction warning information that the state had put up quite appropriately, I might add, and he never saw any of it because he, by his own admission, fell asleep at the wheel because he was too tired to stay awake. He was nearing the end of his 11-hour shift, and had the rule been 10 hours, my wife very likely would be alive and with us today. The weeks following the crash were a nightmare that I hope nobody else has to experience. Unfortunately, I know that about 3,000 people again this year are going to experience the same thing I am experiencing now. And that makes me very, very sad. I paced the halls from the 4th floor to the 6th floor of Akron Children's Hospital for a month, going from one boy's room to the other, for the first week not knowing if Matthew was going to survive. Having to watch my 16-year-old in excruciating pain because of 3 fractures to his pelvis and a broken eye socket. I don't want any of you to ever experience that, and I know too many of us already have. About a month after the crash, we returned to Baltimore. Peter spent some time in and out of the hospital because of infections and complications. He has recovered very nicely physically since then. Matthew spent the next 9 months at Kennedy Krieger, 6 months at Kennedy Krieger Institute as an inpatient. When he left Kennedy Krieger Institute in February, he could move his left index finger. I'm very proud to say, look at him today. He has been 9 months in intensive 6-hour-a-day therapy at Kennedy Krieger Specialized Transition Program, which we had to fight for. Kennedy Krieger is a fabulous institution. We owe them so much. Will Matthew, and I'm sorry, honey, to be talking about you in front of you. I love you so much. You okay with this? Yeah, okay. How much of a recovery will Matthew realize? I don't know. My expectation is that he will have as near a full recovery as absolutely possible, and we fight every day for that. His primary issue right now is aphasia with apraxia and I'm forgetting how to pronounce the last issue. I've learned more medical terms in the last year than I ever cared to know. I am a doctor, but I'm an economist doctor, not that kind. I can't really help anybody. That's a communication disorder that most children don't have. It's very rare, and it's difficult to find speech and language pathologists that work with children that really know how to deal with such a complex system of communication disorders. Since our accident, I've learned of truck driver fatigue. It is an industry-wide health crisis. It's a crisis for truckers. I don't hate truckers. I don't even hate the trucker that did this to us. I hate a situation that puts them in those conditions so that they have to make choices that are not good for them, they're not good for their family, and they're not good for the motoring public. I don't cry very often, you know, because I'm so busy taking care of children. I'm so busy reading explanations of benefits. I spend so much of my time dealing with the aftermath of this crisis that I don't have time to cry. Kind of close right now. The truck driver hours of service rule has to be based upon good science. Science that is not pressured by politics, left politics or right politics. I'm trained as a social scientist. I know what it means to do science. And that means that sometimes you draw conclusions that you may not like. But if it's good science, you live with those conclusions. And the good science tells us that it is not safe to be driving a 30,000-pound explosive at 65 miles an hour after you've had 8, 9, 10 hours of driving. And that doesn't even include the time to get to the job. That doesn't include the time to load your truck. That doesn't include the time that you're unloading your truck, picking up another load, and going back home. These truckers often carry around a urinal in their truck. Can you imagine sitting at your desk and having to urinate while you're working? This is insane. This is not left liberal politics. This is not conservative politics. This is public safety. Plain and simple. Nothing more, nothing less. I understand markets. I've studied them for most of my life. I know what markets are good at doing and what markets are not good at doing. Markets are not good at allocating resources to safety. They aren't. So what I would rather do is to see truckers having to follow sensible regulations than to see trucking companies get sued because they killed somebody. The company that killed my wife and maimed my children has killed 12 people in the last 2 years. I would like to know, Mr. Estes, how do you go to sleep at night? I don't know how he does it. I know that I don't sleep very well. I suspect he does. Thank you.